Moonboys? Got caught chasing green candles again. When are they gonna learn?
The Crypto Fear and Greed Index is currently sitting at 45, still resting within the neutral category. The MMRI is sitting at 260, still within the high-risk category, and is now resting at the highest levels it has seen since going back to early September. Crypto sentiment is sitting at 55.57, still resting in the somewhat bearish category. Jumping over and taking a look at the XRP ETFs, they are now holding approximately 807 million XRP, which represents 0.8078% of the entire XRP supply, approaching 1%. And the XRP Moonboys sure have learned a lesson the hard way the last couple of weeks, chasing those green candles. And it's important to remember that, is that a green candle? And as always, this is not financial advice and is nothing short of the rantings and ravings of a man who was warning you not to put your hand in the cookie jar because he learned the hard way by putting his hand in the cookie jar 30 times in a row. But do me a favor and hit that like button really quick before we get started. I would really appreciate it. First off, jumping over and taking a look at the XRP chart, this is the daily chart. Not a lot has really changed about this chart overall, and it has been playing out exactly as I've theorized. We did get this liquidation candle last night and into this morning, although it's gained back much of what was lost at that time. But XRP is trading within an expanding, ending diagonal, with the wave 4 pushing deep into the wave 1 territory, and of which is divided into 3 wave moves, 3 waves to the downside for the 1, 3 waves up for the 2, 3 waves down for the 3, 3 waves up for the 4, and we are now working on the 5th and final leg of this expanding ending diagonal. I'm watching this area right here, the 1-to-1 fib resting at $1.66, but price very well could push through this area and come down to these lower fibs at the 1.272 sitting at $1.50, or the 1.382 sitting at $1.44, resting near the bottom trend line. It's not uncommon for the wave 5 to push down and touch this trend line, and sometimes even pushing right through it. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but if it does push down to this lower trend line and break through this, which is also a common factor, which is called an overthrow, the 1.618 resting right here at 132 would be the likely target. As it sits right now, I am still just focusing on the 1-to-1 fib. But in order for this wave 5 to come to fruition, validating this as an expanding ending diagonal, we need to take out the wave 3 termination marked right here, which is currently sitting at $1.77.12. We also need the wave 5 to be longer than the wave 3, which is where this cone comes into play on the chart, as the apex marks the area of which, once price passes through it, will mark breaking the wave 3 termination, and the arch of this cone right here measuring the length of the wave 5. As you can see right here, going off the wave 2 to the wave 3, we need the wave 5 to be longer than this right here. So it needs to push outside of this line right here in order to suffice that particular requirement. So we are still looking for the wave 3 termination to be taken out and the wave 5 to actually be longer than the wave 3. If you follow my videos and you follow my posts, you know that I'm watching February 13th for a potential bottom date. There's certainly no guarantees involved with dates, but that is the timeline that I'm watching. And in regard to these levels, with the wave 3 termination sitting at 177, the 1-to-1 sitting at 166, the 172 sitting at $1.50, and the 1.382 setting at $1.44. If we jump over to the XRP exchange liquidation map, we can see that there is quite a bit of liquidity resting below the current price. And the buy-side liquidity has been stacking for quite some time, basically since we set the all-time high. And if you've been thinking about trading spot, or if you're just looking for a great place to swap your cryptos for zero fees, use my link and sign up for BitUnex. You'll be glad that you did. And jumping over and taking a look at the liquidation heat map, this is the 1 month chart. We can see where price is currently trading right here. The thickest band of liquidity on the 1 month chart is sitting right here at exactly $1.77, pushing down here to about $1.75. This is the exact area of the Wave 3 termination that we need to cross in order to validate the first of 2 points in regard to the expanding ending diagonal. And I would dare say, with all of this liquidity sitting right here, there is a very good chance that that will be taken at some point very soon. We can also see if we push down to the bottom of this liquidity here before it starts to blacken out, it hits that $1.35 level, which is exactly where the 1.618 is currently sitting on the chart. Now jumping over and checking out the 3 month chart, we can see that the biggest bands of liquidity on this particular chart are resting well above current price, with the first right here in about this 260 range, and a second band resting here at about mid 270s. We can see that ever since the all-time high was hit, liquidity has been stacking like crazy above current price. They're doing this for a reason, with the thickest band of liquidity being in this area right here, pushing all the way up to about $2.94. We can also see from this chart that the liquidity runs from the billions and doesn't actually turn into the millions till it gets down to where the 1.618 is currently resting on the chart. So everything above this point is billions. Everything below it is in the millions. That's no coincidence that the 1.618 on my chart is resting right where the big money stops. So why are they stacking all of this buy-side liquidity above the current price? It's because likely the vast majority of this biggest chunk right here consists of short positions. And if they can push price down, clear out this liquidity, or at least a big chunk of it, before moving to the upside rapidly, not only will you get the Moonboys chasing those green candles, pumping the price up higher and higher, but as price starts to push into these shorts, they will have to close their positions. And buying to close means that they are going to have to buy back what they have already sold into the market short. So we get compounded buying between the FOMO and the shorts closing their short positions. It looks to me like they are setting up a massive move to the upside at a point in the future, which is why they only pushed into this so deep and wanted to leave the thickest band of liquidity sitting on the chart. But that's just my opinion. It's certainly not financial advice, but I think that there are some incredible things coming down the pike. It's just a matter of clearing out this lower liquidity. And in that regard, the only question remaining is, will price push down to the 1-to-1, the 1.272, the 1.382, or down to that 135 level, or down to that $1.32 level to take all of the billions of dollars of liquidity off of the map completely. And if we go to the 4-hour chart here really quick and zoom in on this particular area right here, we can see that the breaker block worked exactly as I had talked about. After pushing up and setting this high right here, moving into this bull trap, price moved down here, formed the first breaker block, price came down, was rejected. In being rejected, it formed a second breaker block. Price was promptly rejected in that area, pushing down to where we saw this candle last night and into this morning clearing out lower liquidity. We have now formed an additional breaker block. You can see that the price pushed right exactly to the bottom of this breaker. If I had to render a guess, I would expect to see something like this. And if somehow price is able to get through this block here, I would expect it to be something like this. But in my opinion, there is still a lot of downside left before this pattern is fulfilled, price reverses, and we start to move to the upside to complete this wave 5. So fasten your seatbelts. And be sure to check me out on Patreon if you'd like to get information that you're not going to get from anyone else, including the XRP numbers chart.